Final Fantasy XVI is shaping up to be an early Game of the Year contender for me, and I become even more optimistic for the game the more that is shown and told about it. In this video, let's break down the information we have available to us at this point, including the info dump that was the PAX East presentation. And let's take a gander at how the game is shaping up. Now let's talk story, and we know a few things here. There is a blatant oil analog to be made between the mother crystals and oil rigs themselves. The mother crystals are these giant, well, crystals that pierce the land that essentially irradiate magic that people can manipulate and utilize for their own purposes. And most of the giant world powers have centered themselves on these crystals and used the magic that these crystals provide for a variety of things to fuel their way of life. Some revere them, some revile the icons who are able to transform themselves into giant Final Fantasy summons to do battle. Feels like it's going to be an overarching environmentalist message akin to Final Fantasy VII that dealt with a similar theme when it came to Mako extraction. The world of Australia, I believe is how it's called, the world of Final Fantasy XVI, is dying and people are relying on these ever-dwindling sources of power ever more. And that's the backdrop in which the story will unfold. Clive is the protagonist, and there will seemingly be a few time skips throughout the story as we see sections of his life from adolescence to adulthood. It's been revealed that something happens when he's a kid, probably the death of his brother Joshua going off the trailers that we have at this point, and he then grows up and goes on a revenge-centric theme against something or someone. We don't know that detail yet. So, from appearances, right, it seems the game has three main themes going for it. An overarching world theme concerning dwindling natural resources and humanity trying to become no longer reliant on them to save the planet, while others offer resistance to that idea. 2, another overarching world theme concerning WMDs and the effects that they can have in conflict and war and overall global politics, namely through the icons that each nation can control or persecute, depending upon their own prerogative. And then the third main theme is a more personal, individual one concerning anger and revenge. We don't know the nuance of where the story will go for any of these themes, but that seems to be what we are working with as a baseline so far. And there could be more or additional themes that are just tackled in smaller doses, or they're hiding one larger overarching one from us at this point in time. Personally, I like it when games have a theme or a message and they utilize these high over-the-top concepts to convey said theme. It's been one of the staples of Final Fantasy, especially some of my favorite Final Fantasies, and it's interesting to see how these themes are played out, both story-wise and gameplay-wise. Perhaps a Mother Crystal could die or be destroyed, locking you out of a particular icon's abilities for a period of time or something. There's ways to blend this story and these themes into the gameplay experience, and I think that will be the thing I'll be keeping my eye out for. How they're going to, or not, going to tell this story and convey these themes through the gameplay, because that's the unique aspect of the video game medium, is you have this level of interactivity. How they're going to use that interactivity to properly convey these themes and motifs, not just through cutscenes. Or will the story and gameplay feel like separate entities? Some may like that, so others won't. It's a question I hope is answered with the former, since I think that the best video game stories out there are able to intertwine their stories with their gameplay in some capacity, and the giant icon battle sections could be the perfect opportunity to do this. They could mess with powers or have the collateral damage be visible during the gameplay sections. It will just require some imagination, which I fully believe that this dev team is capable of doing, or at least possessing. Let's pivot over to the gameplay, and there were a few things that I noticed. One, they seem to be continuing the trend of using the previous real-time action games to see what sticks and what should be abandoned or changed. The stagger system from Final Fantasy VII Remake makes a return in 16, for instance. I'm not going to really dwell on this bit, since it could have been tuned for this trailer. We just don't know at this point in time, to showcase the various combos, but Yoshi P did fight an enemy that was about 15 levels lower than Clive at the time, and it just felt like a massive sack of health to me. Could be that Clive was just unoptimized, either in terms of button inputs or gear or stats, or the HP was artificially inflated to show more of the combat off, but it's something I'm keeping an eye out for. Yeah, the name of the game is going to be comboing attacks and just going up to random mobs, and one-shotting them is probably not going to be ideal for a combat system reliant on these longer chain attacks and these combos that you're trying to weave together. But there's a thin line for me between satisfying button combos to tear through common enemies and giant health sponges that just feel artificially inflated for time for no reason. At least no reason that will satisfy the consumer. Again, subjective, but my own personal tastes. Having said that, the combos themselves seem pretty enjoyable. I'm not too well versed in Devil May Cry myself. I am trying to slowly change that, but from what I've seen, the combat will be very much predicated on a few core principles. Regular melee attacks, which is square button, weaving in magic attacks for what appear to be more like combos between magic and basic sword attacks, and then also utilizing your icon abilities for various utility-based advantages, like closing gaps, or raising defense, or AoE, or something a giant titan fist to freaking Iron Man slam into the ground, which looks awesome. It's very flashy and visually satisfying in my opinion, but I want to see how mechanically satisfying it is. I want to see just how combo-centric it really is, and how much the game actually rewards utilizing those combos in lieu of just spamming the square button, for instance. The game also seems to really lean into the evasion aspect of it. You can parry apparently by attacking with the enemy to parry with your sword, but you can also time your dodges for better dodges that I think give you a more favorable position to counterattack, or to give you an easy opportunity to counterattack. And when you look closely, you can definitely tell the Final Fantasy XIV team worked on this game, in my opinion, because the combat to me looks like an elaborate dance where you are reacting to enemy abilities and dodging out of them, or parrying, and in between that doing your combos. 16 obviously isn't the only game that has this playstyle, neither is Final Fantasy XIV, but if you play Final Fantasy XIV and you know how that team likes to design encounters, and then you look at some of the fights that we have seen so far with Final Fantasy XVI, you can kind of see the similarities there. Creative Business Unit 3's DNA is all over this game, and in my opinion, that's a reason to be optimistic. It's a style that personally resonates with me, but it may not resonate with you. You have to be your own personal judge of this. And I'm not going to judge the individual areas just yet, mainly because I need to get my hands on them to be sure. But I do hope that there are some kind of collectibles or activities to do outside of just side quests in these areas. I want this to feel like a world to explore, even if it's split up into these little bite-sized chunk of areas. Not just a widened hallway that serves as a glorified loading screen or just a farming for XP simulator. Again, not saying that it's going to feel this way at the end, but it's a concern I raise until I'm able to play the game myself. It's something I'm keeping an eye out for. They are going to elaborate on the RPG aspects more come April, so I'll wait till then to really make any judgments. However, the stuff that we were shown so far seems rather simplistic in nature. Basic stat increases for various accessories, maybe they have various effects, not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm far more intrigued with the talent system. It does look like it's piggybacking off the core philosophy from Final Fantasy VII Remake again, where you have these little circles of upgrades you can choose from, and each circle specializes in different things and may cost more points to acquire each individual talent than, say, another circle. I believe in a previous info dump, it may have been the media tour, it was revealed that these cores come from the accessories that you equip. So I hope they expand on that and elaborate on what that's going to feel like as a core progression tool throughout the game. I hope they're going to touch upon that in April. Am I just going to be starting over with leveling up these passives with each new accessory I get? Will I maybe even feel less powerful as a direct result of losing all those talents that I just put into them? Or are they like archetypes, so if you equip an accessory from this archetype of accessory, you'll have the same talent systems, but if you swap over to a different archetype, that's when you'll get the new ones, or different ones. Again, it's just something we need to keep an eye out for and see if they answer or elaborate on this system. We need more information. You can customize what icon abilities you have for each icon, which I personally am looking forward to. That could easily make combat feel varied from player to player, and give me access to different builds I can invoke if I want to try something new. Really looking forward to that one. Overall, the customization feels and looks simplistic on its head, however you delve beneath the surface, and it could really fall in line with the strengths of the combat system and make it an overall more fun and engaging experience. We are weaving in these various button combos and these various iconic abilities to change up the gameplay on maybe a moment-by-moment basis in combat just by going from any one of your 3 icons you've equipped, and then maybe you go against a different fight or a different boss fight and you realize, hey, I'm not really well equipped for this. What if I just swap out my abilities or something like that, or swap out various icons, and then I may be better suited for this engagement. That could be fun, that could be engaging, and that could really lean into the RPG aspects that can make this game really stand out on its own. My concern with the icon battles, before we wrap up here, from before, have mostly all been alleviated. The icon battles seem to be varied and lean into keeping a similar feel to the combat, just on a grander scale than when we're just with Clive. There's battles where you fly through caves as Phoenix, you can fight a gigantic mountain-sized titan. The older one seems to be right next to the main city of Ash. They look far more appealing and exciting than I initially thought. It could be an excellent opportunity to introduce different scales and different dynamics into the gameplay loop to keep the pace feeling fresh and new, while also changing up the perspective to tell a different kind of story. Again, this can really lean into the idea of furthering the storytelling through the gameplay. And these icon battles have gone from one of the things I was most hesitant about to something I'm really looking forward to, and one of the things I feel could absolutely make this game, or at least elevate this game a tier above what it would normally be. My main concern going in was that they were going to be mechanically too simplistic and one-dimensional, and just glorified cutscenes. And then I saw the Garuda fight, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, is the gameplay loop of these just going to be Garuda screws off to Narnia, you have to like slowly walk up, avoiding mechanics, get up there and hit it twice, and then rinse, repeat? It doesn't seem to be like it's going to go that route in terms of the overall gameplay. That's just one style of these icon battles, and there's various other ones. And I'm happy to say that I'm really relieved about that. So yeah, overall, I'm very optimistic when it comes to Final Fantasy 16. It seems to be doing everything in a way that I find appealing and find engaging. I'm very much looking forward to this. And if the end product is able to live up to what it was shown, while not dragging on or having any major story issues or pacing concerns, then this game could easily be a Game of the Year contender for me, if not just straight up my Game of the Year. Obviously, I'll need to actually play the game to be able to say that, but I'm very optimistic from what we have seen and what I've personally seen so far. But your opinion may differ from mine, and that's fine, because we're all different people. We have our own different preferences and our own different beliefs and our own different styles of play. So what I want you to do is leave a comment down below with your opinions, your thoughts going into Final Fantasy 16 with all the information we have available to us at this current moment. Are you excited? Are you optimistic? You're not looking forward to it? Are you maybe displeased with what you have seen? With what you have seen? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. And leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload in the future, because you can bet that I'll be playing this game day one on stream. Oh yeah, we're going to be getting all up in there, unless something major happens in the meantime. So thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. Stay safe, have a great day, and I hope to see you again next time. Go play some video games. Bye bye everybody.